Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time, once again, for another depressing dose of dismal Disney. Oh, yippee skippy. At the European Star Wars celebration occurring right now in London, the butcher-in-chief pathological liar of Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, in her capacity as president of LucasFilm, has announced 3 new Star Wars movies. And here's how much I actually care. I don't. Anytime that Kathleen Kennedy stands up in front of a cheering crowd of hardcore Star Wars fans that will desperately latch on to pretty much anything that she throws at them, and which she no doubt narcissistically loves, how quickly they forget all of the other announcements for projects that she's made over the years that never actually happened. And her announcements fly in the face of the massive $5.5 billion in cuts that Bob Iger announced in February that includes cutting back new productions and laying off 7,000 Disney employees. And those layoffs began at the end of last month, and more are expected to occur this month. So maybe one of these 3 movies that she announced might actually get produced. And probably the one that is supposed to feature her personal favorite character, Mary Sue Ray. From Variety, the Star Wars movie future just came into sharper focus. Daisy Ridley's Rey will be the center of the first Star Wars feature film since 2019's dumpster fire of a film, The Rise of Palpatine. And yes, while I know that's not the actual name of Episode 9, it is the more accurate name. And who will be directing this latest Mary Sue Ray film? Why, none other than Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, with a script being written by Stephen Knight. Ah, yes. This is who took over the writing after Kathleen Kennedy more than likely fired screenwriters Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt-Gibson only 2.5 weeks ago, as I talked about in a video that I had released at that time. Because, you know, Kathleen Kennedy just loves to fire creatives, such as Colin Trevorrow, who she had originally hired to write and direct Episode 9, to only fire and replace him with Jar Jar Abrams to create the total dumpster fire of a movie, The Rise of Palpatine. So this alleged Obaid-Chinoy movie is apparently supposed to focus on Rey as she builds a new Jedi Order. Oh, you mean like what Luke Skywalker had been doing after Return of the Jedi, where he met crybaby Ben Solo, who then turned into man-baby Kylo Ren and burned Luke's Jedi Temple to the ground? Who knows? Maybe Palpatine will come back once again in this Obaid-Chinoy movie and set fire to Rey's new Jedi Order. Because, you know, if Palpatine could inexplicably survive being tossed down into the core of the second Death Star and its subsequent explosion, getting zapped with Force lightning at the end of The Rise of Palpatine was not particularly convincing that he actually died that time. So don't be shocked if Palpatine does come back a 3rd time because, let's face it, Disney's writers really aren't all that creative these days, especially with Kathleen Kennedy breathing down their necks. But as far as this movie actually getting made is concerned, as well as the other 2 Star Wars movies that Kathleen Kennedy announced, let's not forget that it was only 1 month ago, as I had talked about in a video that I had released at that time, that the Star Wars movies supposedly being made by Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins were both cancelled. You remember Patty Jenkins, don't you? Her Star Wars Rogue Squadron movie that was first announced back in December of 2020 was supposed to open in theaters in December of this year. But then it was delayed and then it was cancelled. But the Obaid-Chinoy movie wasn't the only new alleged Star Wars movie that Kathleen Kennedy chose to announce. And boy, does she love making announcements, because it allows her to become the center of attention, feeding her narcissistic ego. One of the other alleged movies that she announced is supposed to be directed by James Mangold, who just directed Lucasfilm's upcoming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny movie, and I don't put much stock in that film being any good. And as for the 3rd alleged movie that she announced, that one is supposed to be directed by Dave Filoni, who is well known for his work on multiple animated and live-action Star Wars series on both TV and Disney+, including The Mandalorian, whose 3rd season isn't doing too well. Mangold's movie is supposed to go back to the dawn of the Jedi, while Filoni's project is supposed to focus on the New Republic and close out the interconnected stories that are told in series including The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and other Disney Plus shows. That's provided that these alleged films actually get made, and I see no reason to believe that they will get made given Kathleen Kennedy's track record of being a pathological liar. You have to remember that narcissists don't actually care whether they're being truthful or not. They just want the attention and admiration. Now, what was actually interesting is that Kathleen Kennedy didn't say anything about the alleged Star Wars movie that Taika Waititi is supposed to be directing and starring in himself. She also didn't say anything about Rian Johnson's alleged sequel trilogy that he had first announced before the release of his crap film The Last Jedi, which many believe began the destruction of the Star Wars franchise. So if any of these three newly announced alleged movies do actually get made, I can't honestly say that I'll be interested in seeing any of them in theaters. I won't have any interest if the Obaid-Chinoy movie about Mary Sue Ray gets made, because that will just be an extension of Disney's unwatchable Star Wars sequel trilogy, which I stopped watching after the one and only time that I watched that dumpster fire of a film, The Rise of Palpatine. Unlike Luke Skywalker, Mary Sue Ray isn't actually all that popular of a character, and the fact that they plan to do yet another movie about Rey is an indication that Disney and Lucasfilm are doubling down on their abysmal sequel trilogy. My only advice is to not hold your breath waiting for any of these alleged movies that were announced by Kathleen Kennedy to actually be produced, since there's a higher probability that they won't. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.